Welcome back to another Blu Ray update. I've got a smattering of things. Some of it's from the halfway to Black Friday sale, a variety of things that I've watched and wanted to share it with you. First up is 88 films released for Witchcraft, also known as La Casa 4, or Witchery, depending on how many different titles you want to look at. Um, this is directed by Fabrizio Llorente, who had a small filmography. Also did The Crawlers. He was kind of a Joe D'Amato. The storyline on this was that Joe D'Amato wanted Luigi Cosi to do it, and in fact, there's an interview with Cosi on here, and he had some differences with the script and decided to not do it. And Llorente had done a short film about vampires, which is also on this disc, and I highly recommend it. Was impressed with it and decided to give him a shot at directing. So that's how Llorente got this. This stars David Hasselhoff, who, of course, we know him from Baywatch, and Linda Blair. And it's a haunted. It's basically it's a haunted house film. You know, it actually, of the La Casa films, this is one of the films that kind of stays true to the title. I mean, it is a haunted house film. It's a possession film. Linda Blair kind of reprises in an adult fashion her possession at the end of the film. So it's decent. I think the reality is that Linda Blair is not a good actress, and David Hasselhoff. I mean, other than he looks okay, as for a TV kind of guy. He's not really a film star. In fact, what's funny about this was that he had a scene that he didn't want to die in the movie, and Llorente had to go to great lengths to get him to do the death scene in this movie. There's some decent gore in this. It's not bad. It's just not great. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10. Let me see. Let me check it. Yeah, 6 out of 10. It's not bad. I tell you, but I would still recommend getting it because the special features on this are prolific. I mean, there's so much. There's so many interviews on this. It took a long time to go through it. So, a small booklet that comes with the film, and I do think we got some reversible artwork. So yeah, that's La Casa 4, Witchcraft. Not a bad little film. Not a bad way to kill 90 minutes. Alright, next up, this is a film that I was shocked. Honestly, I was shocked. I complain about 90s horror a lot. And there's some great 90s horror films, but in general, I feel like the 90s was kind of a scrubbed. We're coming out of the cheesy goodness of the 80s, where anything kind of went, to this 90s. The 90s kind of set the precedent for socially responsible movie making, which is code for scrubbed, generic, uninteresting movie making, and of course that's kind of gotten worse with all with crap we got going on now today, with a lot of the censorship and social stuff going on. But anyway, to make a long story short, I'm talking about the movie The 11th Commandment, which is a Vinegar Syndrome release. I'm watching this thing, and I'm thinking, this is Exhibit A for what was wrong with 90s horror. It substitutes interesting story, great special effects, cheesy, quirky characters with this kind of, muted storyline, muted kills, and just kind of scrubbed script. It's just uninteresting. It's vanilla. You can watch it on the Sci-Fi Channel if you want, but this is a 1986 film, and I was shocked. after I looked at this, I couldn't believe it was 1986. So even in the 80s, we saw vanilla, nondescript, uninteresting film and uninteresting characters. Uh, there's a couple interviews on this with the actor and actress, and they're just as uninteresting as their portrayal in the film. This is about a religious killer who gets out of an insane asylum and goes on a killing spree, and he kind of interrupts a family dispute over inheritance, basically. His penchant for killing is he likes to stab him in the stomach, and it's shot in such a boring, uninteresting way. It's like, my gosh, are we just going through the motions on this thing? Anyway, I give this a 5 out of 10. This is just not particularly interesting or good. 11th Commandment. Picture quality is great, but yeah, this is a notch above Sci-Fi Channel, I guess, if you wanted to rate it. I have a slipcover, but I got it up there. So, all right, next up is a much more interesting entry, and this is The Killing Birds, 1988. Hang on a second. There it is with the slip. Nice thick paper on the slip. Killing Birds, which is also known as Zombie 5, I think? Yeah, Zombie 5, it's on the title. Zombie 5 Killing Birds. There are birds killing people in this, and there are zombies, so the overall theme of the movie isn't that, but as far as killing birds, it's really, it kind of sets the stage for it at the beginning. It's about a group of college kids that are on looking for birds that are basically in trouble going extinct, and they run into this house with this guy that's blind, who they kind of set you up for that in the first 15 minutes of the film. With he's a Vietnam veteran, and he comes home and finds his wife having an affair. But the bottom line is this thing turns into kind of a zombie fest in the last 30 minutes, and a pretty decent one. It's kind of like a poor man's Beyond, a poor man's Fulci Beyond. It's Joe D'Amato. Claudio Lattanzi directed this, but I think Joe D'Amato really was the one that directed it. It's shot. What's interesting about this one is it's shot right here in my backyard. It was shot at Nichols University in Thibodaux, and I think they even used the house from the Beyond, which is in Madisonville, close to me. So there are some interesting aspects of this film, but this is just another example. This is 88. We're going into the 90s now, and we're getting a lot of characters that look pretty on the cover of a magazine, but they can't act, and they're just not very interesting. And so there's not a whole lot of interesting characters to carry the film, but there are some decent kills. So I give it a 5 out of 10. Number of special features on this, audio commentary, and some interviews. I still recommend picking it up. And that is Killing Birds. All right, next up we've got, I believe, The Crimes of the Black Cat, which is a Cauldron release. Yeah. This is a Gialli Cauldron release, which I think is a sister company of Vinegar Syndrome. I believe this is just another one of their spin-off companies, I think. I'm not 100% sure about that. 2 audio commentaries on this. This is an interesting, crazy Gialli. I would say it's kind of a second-tier Gialli. But it's in the early period of Gialli, which is 72, kind of the heyday of the Giallis. It's about a killer who uses a black cat like glove. It's like a claw, and they're putting curare or some kind of a poison on the claw to kill people. The film has a particularly brutal, a la New York Ripper kill towards the end. It's and I think the way it wraps up the film is very good ending. Um, but it's a little bit slow in parts. I still give it a 7 out of 10. I actually liked it. It's uh, it's it's like a police procedural whodunit for the first 45 minutes, with a smattering of kills, and the kills get progressively more brutal as you go along. I definitely recommend this release. Nice release. The audio commentaries I found interesting and informative. So yeah, I thought it was a very good purchase. Recommend Crimes of the Black Cat. All right, next up we have a Paul Naschy film, 1978's The Frenchman's Garden. This is a Mondo release, and this is actually one of the first films I think where Naschy goes by his real name, Molina. He plays a serial killer. It's based on a true story of a Spanish serial killer back in the early 1900s, and he was working at this I don't know, it's like a bed and breakfast with this garden in it, and then the bed and breakfast doubled as a bordello and a gambling joint, and he would rip off the patrons and kill them. It's a good film. It's a very good film, and Paul Naschy is excellent in it. I think he did a great job. My only complaint about this film is, maybe if I had to complain about something, which I always got something to complain about, is that the three female leads in this, they look so much alike. It takes forever to keep them straight in your head. They also dress alike. They have the same hairstyle. So it's varied, and I find that problem with giallis sometimes, where you got so many different characters that look similar that you can't differentiate them. But other than that small quip, I think this was good. This has an audio commentary track with, I think it's with Troy Howarth, yeah. And then an interview with Naschy, a couple interviews with Naschy that ran like 20, 30 minutes. Good stuff. Highly recommend it. It also comes with a booklet, so I definitely recommend Frenchman's Garden. I give it a 7 out of 10. Next up, another Cauldron release, and that's 1980's Beyond Terror. This one I have mixed feelings about. This is about a trio that go on a nasty crime spree. The first 45 minutes is just kind of like I don't know, Last House on the Left sort of deal, where these scumbags just go and, they're just, anybody they interact with, they rob them and kill them. They go into it. What changes the film a little bit is they go into this diner, rob the diner and take some hostages, and then they end up camping out at this old woman's house who they kill. And turns out there's a supernatural element to it that becomes very, last 30 minutes turns into a very supernatural horror film. But the first hour is more like just a straight crime thriller. It's got the problem with this one, I think, is it doesn't have any likable characters. Nobody in this is anybody that you like. They're all scumbags. But it does have some interesting gothic type, Euro-Gothic type features towards the end, when the zombies, or not zombies, but more like just, well, I guess they're zombies. I mean, they're dead people. It's very supernatural. It's a cross between a zombie film and a kind of a supernatural thriller. But I thought that the pacing of the film was off. I mean, it shouldn't take an hour to get into the meat of the story, and unfortunately it does. So I give it a 6 out of 10. It does have a commentary with Kat Ellinger, who she loves, no matter how bad some of these Euro Gothic horror movies are. I think she likes them all. You can always guarantee Kat Ellinger's gonna like it. It's a 4K scan. It looks great. Cauldron did a good job. So yeah, I'm still glad I got this. It's an interesting film. I'd never seen it before, so I'm glad I watched it. I don't know that I'll ever go back to it again, but yeah. Anyway, that's Beyond Terror. Next up is Day of the Animals. Let's see. This is the film I watch and rewatch. This is at the height of in '77. This is the height of when nature runs amok films. You have Grizzly, Jaws, Piranha. I mean, it just one right after the other. This is a fun one. It's got Christopher George and his wife Linda in this. And man, look out for Leslie Nielsen. He plays a scumbag perfectly in this. It's just great stuff. Anyway, these people are going out kind of on a nature hike, and they get stranded in the woods. And what's happened is there's been some kind of a I don't know if it never really explained this, but there was something that at higher elevations, it was affecting the minds of the animals and people too. Because I think at the end of the day, Leslie Nielsen turns into a maniac, mainly because he was up at a higher elevation. But there's some great performances in this. This is the antithesis of the first two films I talked about, in that you may not have standout special effects, but you've got great characters and great acting, and that's going to carry the film, and it does. I give this an 8 out of 10. This is a loaded release from Severin. Audio commentary tracks, new interviews. There was a previous Blu-ray release of this. If you have it, you still need to get the Severin updated release, because this has so much good special features on it, particularly if you like the movie. So yeah, love this one, Day of the Animals. And then finally, I've got my Scanner Cop box came in. Beautiful set, by the way. You've got Scanner Cop 1, Scanner Cop 2, the Showdown. The short version is I like 2 better than 1. I thought the first Scanner Cop, I give it a 6 out of 10. This is the 4th installment of the Scanner series franchise, and I found this film to be just a notch above Sci-Fi Channel in terms of acting and special effects. It's a decent film. It's a decent one-time watch, but it's the production values are really kind of bottom of the barrel, and the acting is not great. Richard Lynch, you got a guy like Richard Lynch in this movie, and all he does is sit around and say a couple lines of dialogue. He has very little to do in this, so that was disappointing. Great work as far as the 4K on this from Vinegar Syndrome. It's just not a great movie. I'm finding Vinegar Syndrome is doing a lot of great work on shitty movies. This isn't shitty, but it's not great either. Now, Scanner Cop 2, I liked. I thought it had a much more enthusiastic acting in it, much better pacing, and I thought basically the Scanner Cop is fighting one bad guy. The one bad guy is trying to chase him down, and they both can have scan abilities. This had great special effects, much better story, better pacing, all around better movie. 7 out of 10. Scanner Cop 2. Scanner Cop 2 was directed by, I'm trying to see here, Steve Barnett. Yeah. And he did Mind Warp. He didn't do much, but Mind Warp is another one he did. But yeah, I would still get this. I think the special features are worthwhile. There's audio commentaries on both, so it's overall it's a good release. It's just not my preference is Scanner Cop 2 over Scanner Cop 1. All right, that's gonna do it. I do have other things that I've purchased that I'm working my way through, and when I'm done, I'll post another video. If you've seen any of these films or have any thoughts about it, please share it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.